Hi there, Martin, founder of FutureProof here, with this video on the fallacy of composition and the age of AI. I'm going to go through the fallacy of composition, which is a fairly standard introductory economics concept, and relate that and update it to the current situation and AI expansion. So as we've said here, AI advancement sparks both optimism and concern. We'll explore how the fallacy of composition affects our AI future. Understanding the fallacy. The definition of the fallacy of composition is a logical error assuming what's true for a part must be true for the whole. As a simple example, if we have one person standing up at a music concert, then they improve their view. But if everyone stands up, this improves no one's view. Another example would be training to become a dentist. Nothing wrong with that, but if everyone did it, we'd all starve. AI context. The fallacy can be applied here to one company automating jobs which increases profits. That's fine for that company. But if all companies are doing so, this could create various systemic problems. The entrepreneurial illusion. One application of the fallacy could be the idea that we see a lot on YouTube and various podcasts, that as AI comes to be more influential, more and more people can become entrepreneurs, and this will resolve any loss of jobs. We could have individual success, so AI can help talented individuals with novel ideas become successful entrepreneurs. Mass application. However, if we had millions pushed into entrepreneurship, that would lead to market oversaturation. Entrepreneurship works because certain people have certain abilities and knowledge that not everyone has. They can exploit that to make a profit. If absolutely everyone is doing it, or near to everyone is doing it, then that drops away. We also have to think about the systemic reality, so not everyone has a temperament, capital, or unique ideas to succeed, so this is another reason for suggesting not everyone can become an entrepreneur. We're wandering slightly off topic here, apologies, because people who do not enter the entrepreneurial pool do not cause the fallacy of composition to occur, but just wanted to cover that point as another response to the idea that everyone can become an entrepreneur in future. The aggregate demand paradox. As AI transforms our economy, we face a fundamental economic challenge that affects the entire system. First, we get AI automation. This increases productivity and reduces production costs dramatically across industries, creating unprecedented efficiency gains and profit potential for businesses. So nothing going wrong so far. But then we get job displacement, so workers lose income sources across multiple sectors simultaneously, from manufacturing to professional services, as AI systems replace human labour at all skill levels. We then have reduced consumption. So without income as a result of mass unemployment, people cannot purchase goods and services, leading to declining sales across the economy and shrinking markets for the very products that AI helps us create more efficiently. So we have the automation, we have the productivity gains from the first step, but nobody's able to purchase anything, so we're ending up with the fallacy of composition. In other words, what was good for individual businesses flows through and messes everything up. So in the worst case, we get economic stagnation. Overproduction meets underconsumption, creating economic problems, including inventory surpluses, business failures, and potentially widespread economic contraction, despite technological advancement. This cycle illustrates how individual company decisions that are rational at the micro level can lead to problematic outcomes at the macro level. Classic example of the fallacy of composition in economics. Who will buy the output? If we have mass unemployment, we have the circular flow problem. So economic health requires a balance between production and consumption. AI disrupts this balance by removing income from the equation. I think we've actually been given a warning sign from this with the COVID pandemic, where we had to protect economies from complete collapse by paying everyone on furlough, or not everyone. But yeah, we needed to generate income that otherwise would have dropped away because one person's income flows through to become someone else's output and consumption. But if income levels are disappearing, then there won't be any output and employment eventually to match up with that. We also need to think about the purchasing power gap. So even if goods become incredibly cheap, people without jobs lack purchasing power. Finally, we have the production fallacy. So the fallacy here is assuming that increased production benefits society without considering who can afford to consume that output. We also need to think about the attention economy bottleneck. So at the top we have human attention, which is finite and increasingly valuable. There are also time constraints with limited hours in a day. We also have a cognitive capacity constraint as a limited ability for people to process information. So if we flood the market with AI content production, we have virtually unlimited output. It seems good for every individual creator who's doing that, but as you can see, it flows through. We can't actually use most of this stuff. So again, it's good for individuals, but it flows through into a macro problem. The digital content explosion. Obviously, there's only 24 hours in a day, so we have a daily time limit, a fixed human capacity for content consumption. But with AI, there's an unlimited potential for content creation. So over time, surely we're going to end up with a very low success rate. Only a fraction of the content will actually find an audience. Winner take most dynamics. At the top, we have the top AI services which capture the majority of attention and revenue. We might get underneath those some niche players who survive with specialised offerings. But in terms of most of the digital output, including that produced by all these supposed new entrepreneurs that we're going to have, this will create a digital wasteland where most AI creations go unnoticed and unused. Building a responsible AI future. We need to acknowledge systemic issues. This is why we put the video together. We need to recognise the fallacy of composition in all AI policy discussions. Once again, what is good at the micro level does not necessarily flow through in the same way at the macro level. We need to reimagine social safety nets. We need to explore universal basic income and other models to maintain aggregate demand. We should foster human-centric skills. In other words, develop education for capabilities that AI cannot replicate. Finally, we need to design things with a societal impact. We need to create AI systems that distribute the benefits more equitably, rather than being monopolised by individual massive trillionaire or billionaires. As we've seen, that won't help them in the long run. Nobody will be there to buy their products. So we should perhaps consider Hicks-Kaldor efficiency. We have separate video and blog articles on that concept. So that's it. Hope it was useful, and if you learned something on the fallacy of composition, don't forget to check out our other videos and blog articles on this topic and many others.